Hi everyone, good afternoon. I am Selva Arun and also known as Meena. I am a security engineer at eBay and I want to talk about something we all do every day, but nobody teaches like how to find a bug, not to fix it. So find it, and once you know where the problem is, fixing it is the easiest part. So today I will give you the method I use. It's called the three halves method. And let me start with the problem it solves. We all know this. A user messages or reaches out to you stating it's broken. So your heart beats faster and you open the record, click around and paste the error into the Google and you try one fix, then another, and in the next 30 minutes or later, maybe you find it. So now the same person with a method and they hear it and they ask one question. That question tells them where to look and they go straight there and find the cause in minutes. So the same skill, same experience, the only difference is a map. That's all I'm giving you today. But first, the let's talk about the map and also the place that map describes. So, what actually happens when you click on something in ServiceNow? So, three missions, and these are the three missions which I use, and this can be different for anyone out there. So, the browser shows the forms, fields button, and it's right next to you, but it has no idea what's in the database, and it only knows what it has handed. The server thinks and guards. It runs your business rules and flows and it decides who is allowed to do what. And it's right next to the data, but it can't see your screen. So the database stores and it runs none of your logic, and that's on the purpose. Now, please look at the arrows. When you save, the data travels down. When you open a record, it comes back up. So let's picture your instance has a house with the three rooms. The top room, the living room, that's the browser. It's where the guests sit and the part that everyone sees. So what the user sees. And the middle room, the kitchen. And that's the server. It's where the work happens. So what the system does. And the bottom room, the basement, that's the database where you keep your boxes. So what is stored. So that's the whole method. And here is only question you ask. Is this about what they see, what it does, and what it is stored? So the first room is the living room. Anything the user can see, the field is missing, the button is grayed out. The list is on the screen, but let me tell you why permissions are first. If someone is not allowed to see a field, the service now doesn't want them, no error, nothing. It quietly removes it from the form. So the user swears the field is gone and it isn't. They just can't see it. So that's the check people forget most and it costs most of the time. After that, it's simple. Is the field on this form and this view? Is a UI policy hiding it? Is a client script broken? Or is button condition hiding itself? So one tip that saves me constantly is press F12 and open the browser console. And if a script is broken, the error is sitting right there. So now the room where the work actually gets done, the kitchen. What the system does, it went to a wrong person or the email never sent. So notice like nobody is complaining about the screen. They are saying something did not happen. So that's your signal for the kitchen. Business rules first because that's where the most of the logic lives. Two questions: is it active? And do that condition actually match this record? And very often the rule is perfect. and the record just doesn't meet a condition you assumed it met. Then flows, notifications, data policies. So, one genuinely useful thing is a system logs, then emails. That screen tells you whether an email was created, sent, or skipped. It answers the email did not send in a minute every time. And look at the order along the bottom. When you save, it's always the same sequence, like the permissions, before business rules, the write and after rules, then the background work. Once you know that order, you stop guessing which stage you are stuck in. Now to the basement, and this is my favorite part. The basement, what's stored? For example, like my record disappeared. First thing, always go query the table yourself, and you will find almost every time that it is here, that is there. It never left. Something is hiding it from that person. So, what's hiding it? Look at the order along the bottom because this is the read path and it's different from the save path or the write path which we saw in the previous slide. Somebody runs a search. Before that search ever reaches the database, two things quietly edited. First, the query business rule, and these append hidden conditions to every single record of the table. The user never sees it. It leaves no fingerprint. Second, the domain separation or the scope. If your company uses it, then adds a domain filter to the same query. Then the database runs what's ever left. And after the results come back, ACLs strips out the rows and fields the person isn't allowed to see. So those three query rules, the domain permissions or the scope are what I call the three silent filters. And none of them throw an error, nothing turns red. The record just isn't there as far as that user is concerned. So here is the sentence I want you to keep. If a record is missing, but you can prove it exists, stop looking at the data, look at what the filters the read. So I'm going to talk about the real bug, which I fixed. So we had a tool that reads an email and pulls the link out into a word note. Then the people started reporting problems like here is what made it confusing. They did not report the same problem. Someone said only one link came through. Some said few were missing. Some said nothing at all. So three complaints, one tool. So step one, which room? The screen was fine. The content being written was wrong. That's the logic. That's the kitchen. 3 seconds. Step two, there were three problems hiding in there. The code was looking for a link in its plain normal form, but the email text was encoded, so the characters looked different. The code kept landing on the same spot and never moved forward. It read the same link over and over. Now, here is the part I really want you to hear. Somebody had added a step that removes the duplicate. So all those repeats got cleaned up before anyone saw them. The output looked tidy. It looked like the tool just found out one link. Nobody knew the loop was stuck. The second, the code only handed one of the two formats. This link's coming. Anything else got skipped. That's some links missing. And third, if the field was empty, nothing caught it. So the user got nothing. So with no explanation, the fix was small, matched the encoded version, handled both the formats, joined the sources properly. And it caught the empty case with a real message. So let me put all of this together. So one path, the browser shows, the server thinks and guards, the database stores. Everything sits somewhere on it. So 3 rooms, so I can remember it when I'm stressed. So living room is what they see, the kitchen is what it does, and the basement is what's done. So one question to ask yourself, is it seeing, doing, or storing? Then work that room lists in order. 9 times out of 10, it's the first or a second item. If the record is missing, but you know it exists, do not stare at the data. Look at the three silent filters. And when you find it, fix the cause and not the symptom. Then write down what it was. And the first time a bug takes you an hour, write it down once, and the next time you recognize it in 10 seconds. So the last thing, the same map works both ways. Broken, you walk it backwards, like symptoms, room, cause. Building, you walk it forward, like data, logic, access, permission, and the screen. So the same map, two directions. Try it on your very next ticket. And that's the three house method: one path, 3 rooms, and one question. Thank you all so much. And please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Thank you.